Hi, this is Steve Palladino from Palladino Power Project, bringing you a preview of the SuperPower Calculator version 4.0. Yes, we are going to release a new version of the SuperPower Calculator. And when I say we, Steve Bateman is the primary worker behind all this, and that he gets the calculator in order and adds new features. But I also would include Alex Tran, who's also contributed some new things to this version, and also has a great sort of website that walks you through how to use some of these functions. And then me, I throw in a few ideas, and then I produce these videos for you. So we're excited to bring you an updated version and also some new elements. And I just want to preview those at this time. I'll do more detailed videos on some of the specifics and some of the things that you can do with it now. So look for those videos on some of the new features, but I'm going to just preview them right now. So one of the things that we did in this version, version 4.0 of SuperPower Calculator, is we have now categorized the various work functions on the menu. So there is calculate CP FTP as a category, and there's two functions under there. There's race power planning, and we have 5 functions under there. One of them is new. I'll come back to that. Steve is indicated when things are new to this version, or perhaps even updated to this version. He's indicated that, for at least for the time being. So race power planning, 5 different options for that. We have some what if. These are calculators that allow you to work with some hypothetical questions. These are not new; they've been there, but we've just categorized them for you so you can know which one you might go to based on what problem you're wanting to solve. You want to calculate a CP or FTP? There you go. You want to race power planning? There you go. If you want to do some hypotheticals, there they are. Then we have some other functions in here, like adjusting your power targets based on altitude, temperature, humidity, calculating RE and horizontal power ratio, leg spring stiffness per kilogram, CVI even, for various activities. That is not new, but it's expanded. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. Being able to look up a Rigel exponent based on race distance and time, that's not new. Steve is fine-tuned that a little bit to make it work a little bit better, but that's not new. What we've added similar to that is a capacity to look up running effectiveness adjustment based on CVI, known CVI versus your race target CVI. So in other words, if you have a hilly race, how much is that going to affect your running effectiveness? So we can work within that particular function to determine that and allow you to better fine-tune your race power planning. And then another thing we've done here, you'll see RWC here, and you're going to see it up here. For the SuperPower Calculator, we have formally listed that as AWC, or anaerobic work capacity, and that is a misnomer. It is a significant amount of anaerobic energy systems contributing to that particular element, but it is not solely anaerobic. So it's a misnomer. And W prime is another term that has been utilized for quite some time. but that is not as explanatory. Um, WKO uses functional reserve capacity, and we did not want to take their term because it's not the same. When it's calculated via the monad method, it's not functional reserve capacity. It's not quite the same. So what we're calling it, just so people understand, is reserve work capacity. Reserve work capacity is that work, the amount of work that you can do when you are exerting a power, an effort level above your CP or FTP. What reserve amount of work do you have for when you exceed FTP, CP? And so we're calling it reserve work capacity. So we'll report it as reserve work capacity, which is really W prime. But we also have this new function, which is look up how your reserve work capacity rates based on gender and your power meter type, if you like to look at that. That is sort of a product of work that I've done on athletes that I have data on, where they not only by gender, but by weight and by their power meter, the wind version of stride versus the non-wind version of stride. So you can see how you rank, and it can even go so far as to tell you if you might be if your estimate of reserve work capacity is a little bit higher, a little bit low, and I emphasize might. Then we've had this for quite some time. We've had this in the SuperPower Calculator, and it's still there, is calculating zones, and you can work from percentage of FTP to training targets, etc. We have that still there. We've just regrouped it into other functions. And then the same thing, calculate Rigel exponent using various maximal activities, race activities. So there is a big difference, is it just makes it a little bit easier to find what function you might want to use depending on what you want to accomplish. So that's a big one. Let me scroll down to this one here. I've already explained these two new ones down here a little bit. We also added a race power planning calculator that allows someone that has a reliable FTP/CP estimate and a reliable estimate for reserve work capacity or functional reserve capacity, or FRC. If they have reliable estimates for those two, then and they have running effectiveness, a reasonable estimate, they could begin to use this calculator for estimating race power for races that are going to be less than about 50 minutes. More significantly, as you get down to 5K and below. The Rigel-based race power planners work great working from your CP to longer races and even CP to 10K, because that's pretty close. But as you get further to your left on your power duration curve, or shorter races than 10K for most people, as you get further to the left there, the Rigel method does not work as well. This method, at least in my hands, I've been using this for some runners that I work with that are running 5Ks, and I've been able to come pretty close to predicting power targets using this. But you need a reliable FTP, CP, and a reliable reserve work capacity. So that means either you're working with from a recent CP test, or you're working from a reliable WKO model, or you're working from a reliable Golden Cheetah model. As far as I know, those are the only three that report both CP/FTP and that W prime FRC, or reserve work capacity that we're calling it. So this is a pretty cool calculator. It's worked pretty good, and I would suggest it for 5K and less, or I could even say 8K and less for most athletes. All right, so there's one big difference. There's a few things. I'll just come down here now. Traditionally, in the SuperPower Calculator, when we're entering in activities, say we want to find out the horizontal power ratio, HPR, or form power ratio, or leg spring stiffness per kilogram. It's been laid out in this landscape format where you're going to enter the date and the power and the time. Again, I always say this, but you can toggle and switch units if you wish. So it's traditionally been laid out in landscape format. We've also taken it and laid it out in a portrait format, which means that your activities are across the top, and you just will scroll down to see results. Notice as I'm scrolling down here, and this works on the other one too, is that we can actually allow you to look at separate total power, air power, your residual power, or this is the power that's equivalent to the non-wind stride. You can break things down in that from that perspective. So we've added that. We've also added the capacity of calculating CVI if you've got that information. CVI plus net, which is another metric that uses elevation data and distance to calculate this figure. And of course, running effectiveness, which we've had all along. So we have those available for you. Scenarios are pretty much the same, where you're going to enter Rigel exponent and target RE. The one thing that you notice different here is that it is going to report the power, the resultant power estimate, your target power in watts per kilogram if you've entered weight, which of course you're required for this particular function. But also it's going to report what percentage of your FTP or CP that power is. So we've added that column in on this one. So it'll give you your power, but it's going to also give you your percent FTP, your percent CP. We mentioned being able to adjust your running effectiveness based on CVI. This is some work that Alex did, and there's a table in here that allows you to do this. You could also use CVI plus net in the same table rather than the CVI. I'll explain this in another video, but realize that we're enhancing your ability to estimate your running effectiveness for purposes of race power planning. This is based on data that I generated from a study of various athletes that have done CP tests before and after, male, female, and including weight. So you'll see that we have things stratified based on the type of device, male or female. We even have, if you want to look at it in terms of joules per kilogram, we look at what those numbers are, what the average standard deviation is, and then what the low, medium, and high range is for those individuals. So that's pretty much a quick glimpse. And like I said, there are other things that are mixed in here, and I'll go over those as I start using the calculators and coming up with specific function demonstrations. But we do have a number of various inputs and outputs that are new. We think it's a major improvement, another step forward that allows you to really work in different directions with your power data to assist your running and your racing. Look forward to bringing some more on the specifics. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.